Welcome to Gazali. We have with us Vandana Shukla. This is the second time she is on the Gazali show. Our first conversation was about partition of India. Today we are going to talk about an author which she admires, Saadat Hasan Manto. There's a lot of interest about Manto in these days. There's a film which is going to be released very soon. In Hindi, when people start taking too much interest in this author, कहते हैं उसका मंटोकरण हो गया है. हमारा तो गांधीकरण हो गया है, हमारा टागोरीकरण भी हो गया है. अभी मंटोकरण I think अभी आपको सुनने के बाद हो जाएगा. Now tell me why suddenly people getting so very interested in Manto.
I think people were already looking for answers to the communal problems erupting again and again, and Manto addressed this issue in a very honest and very stark manner. He provides an insight into what happens to people, what happened during partition, because to understand partition, it's good to understand Manto first, because what was happening to the people of this country, today what we call India and Pakistan, it used to be only India then, the same processes Manto was going through, and as a very sensitive human being and as a brilliant writer, he was giving expression to the reality around him. What Manto wrote should not be treated as a journalistic report, which a few people commit the mistake of, saying that he documented partition. He not only documented partition, he gave us an insight into what happens to people under such circumstances when your friend becomes your enemy. I'll narrate an instance from his life.
And before we go there, he wrote in Urdu.
Yes, he wrote in Urdu.
And he generally believed that Urdu is a language of ishq, of romance. But he handled many, many different topics. Which were his favorite topics?
It's hard to say because he covered almost every aspect of human life around him. And I guess why he could write about from prostitutes to pimps to gigolos to to the so-called cream of the society, because the way he lived. He was born in a small village of Ludhiana. He did his education from Amritsar, from a very ordinary college. And he used to sit with the tangawalas and panwalas. These used to be the addas those days. And if you wanted to know life, you go to these places. And he got all his characters, the characters he used later on in his stories, they came from these interactions, at Tangewala Adda and from Panwala Addas. And Manto was not good at studies. He came from a family of barristers from Kashmir. He was actually a Kashmiri Muslim. But he was an avid reader of European authors, and many of his stories show great influence from Maupassant, from Emile Zola, Chekhov he read a lot. He started writing, he started with translations actually, and then he wrote for AIR in Delhi for many years, and then he came to Bombay.
What did he write for AIR?
He wrote radio plays, and he published 7 volumes of his radio plays and 21 collections of his short stories, and within a short span of 43 years, because he died young. Most of his stories come from life around him, but he wrote beautiful sketches of film personalities because he worked for Bombay Talkies.
Which were the film personalities during his time that he wrote about?
Oh, he wrote some very interesting sketches of Ashok Kumar, and there used to be a very popular hero called Shyam. So I would relate an anecdote from his life, and because interest in Manto is revived because of the way he addresses the communal issue. So here is this very interesting story that once Shyam, who was a great, very popular hero of Hindi cinema those days, and Manto was very thick with him. They were in Bombay and partition had already taken place. So there was some Sikh gentleman sitting there, and he was narrating the horrors of what he had gone through in Pakistan, how his entire family was killed, and they were sitting there next to him on a table and they were listening to this conversation. So Manto asked him, Shyam, who is a Hindu and Manto is a Muslim, he asked him, if something like that happens here, would you kill me? So Shyam doesn't say anything at that moment, but after some time he says, maybe not now, because now that emotion has
disseminated.
But then I could have, when I was listening to the Sikh guy. Now this thing lingered in his mind. Actually, Manto, surprisingly for all Manto fans, this enigma remains that Manto was such a liberal man. Why did he leave India? Why did he opt for Pakistan? So maybe these few little instances, he writes about influence that. Then he was a script writer for Bombay Talkies. And
which were the films he wrote for?
He wrote many films, but
the famous ones?
Mirza Ghalib happens
Ghalib.
to be which won a national award actually. So once the communal strife was there in Bombay as well, things were not good. So one day Ashok Kumar was driving and Manto was sitting with him, and they were passing through a lane and it was Muslim dominated area. So Manto was very scared. He writes with great honesty that he thinks if Ashok Kumar is killed, he will never be able to forgive himself as a Muslim. So he tells Ashok Kumar, he says, let's not drive through this, let's change the lane. So Ashok Kumar says, don't worry, they won't say anything to me. Because Ashok Kumar knew he was a very popular hero. Actually, they drive through and one guy comes and he does salam to Ashok Kumar.
Okay. And there was a Muslim guy who did
Muslim
salam.
guy. So this is Sahab aap jaiye, Sahab aap jaiye. But Manto sitting there realizes that things have come to such a point where you don't know what may happen the next moment. Usually people talk of 4 stories of Manto again and again, Toba Tek Singh and Khol Do and Thanda Gosht and Kali Salwar. But there are so many other stories where he turns these real life instances into a story.
Just to interrupt you for a while, I mean, I really get a little bit more connected with Manto now, because Ashok Kumar, spending time with Manto, must have lit his cigarette sometimes. And I had the fortune of having my cigarette lit by Ashok Kumar. Of course, at that time he was very old and I was very young, not of smoking age perhaps, but still he did. This is getting very interesting. So now, any more anecdotes connected with the Bollywood?
Actually, he has written volumes and volumes. Actually, there is a beautiful story by him. It's called Mera Naam Radha Hai. My name is Radha. This is again, it's a wonderful story about Manto's sly observation of these people who live this double life. Their public life is something else. In real life, they are somewhat very different. So he writes about a very famous hero, and this hero had this peculiar habit of looking at his beautiful body, and he finds it very strange that Why is he all the time, you know, he would just look at the hair on his chest, and he says, of course, he has a beautiful body, but why is he so obsessed with his own body? And then there is this, and then he has this peculiar habit of calling all heroines as Banji, and then he would also ask them to tie a rakhi. So he is very curious about, you know, and then it's a very interesting story to what happens that there is a new heroine comes and she's a vamp, and Manto becomes friends with this girl, and she tells about her encounters with this guy who comes to her house and asks her to tie a rakhi, and then deliberately he leaves his thela there, and then he, you know, then what happens? So Manto offers these, on the one hand, he is showing the gutter of humanity.
Okay.
I would call it gutter of humanity.
So the disparity between the screen and real life.
And the real life. And
would you sort of, we had in Goan author called Ravindra Kelekar. He wrote something very interesting about authors in the book, the way you know them through the books and the way you know them in real life, and the disparity. What about Manto himself?
Well, that's a very good question. Manto, if you read, you would think that Manto would be just roaming around with prostitutes and pimps. But Manto was a very timid family man. He loved his wife, obeyed his wife to the hilt. He loved his daughters. And he wrote so much so that his family would never suffer. He knew that his health was not good. He died of liver cirrhosis. He used to tell his wife, I'm writing so much so that you never have a problem of sustenance. But he didn't know that his writing itself would go against him, because there were cases of obscenity against him. In fact, even the progressives left him when he wrote Siyah-Hashe.
Tell us a little bit about the progressive artists and the progressive filmmakers and the connection with Manto.
Yes, I mean at that point of time in late 40s and early 50s, most filmmakers, artists, writers who were, they were fired with some kind of idealism, and they were trying to define Indian society in a modern way, in a modern contemporary way. And Manto was also part of Progressive Writers Association. In fact, interestingly, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, who was a great supporter of Progressive Writers Association and a member of it, but supported creation of Pakistan. And this is how he migrated to Pakistan. Even though when the cases of obscenity, Manto was fighting these cases.
Tell us, what did he write which was termed obscene?
Well, in the times that he was writing openly about sexuality. He wrote in great detail this story called Thanda Gosht. And another story of his is called Boo, the human smell. This is very graphic in detail about man-woman relationship and the tribal in man and woman. This was absolutely, I mean, those days it was unacceptable to people, and especially we must remember.
In the land of Kama Sutra.
In the land of Kama, but look, he was writing in Urdu, you know. So there were people who didn't like this, and of course, Thanda Gosht was very shocking. Though it was true, this happens. People in communal, fire, they do many things which they do not understand, why they are doing. Later on, there is, of course, a sense of repentance. But this was unacceptable to...
Thanda Gosht was about what?
Thanda Gosht is, it's a very interesting story about a Sikh who is meeting, actually there is this very detailed, graphic detail of, his lover, this woman who demands love from her lover, this Sikh man. But he had killed a family of 7-8 Muslims. Killing those people didn't do anything to him. What he does is, after killing the family, there is a beautiful girl in the family. He picks this girl and takes her to the fields. And when he is going to mount her, he realizes that the woman is very cold, and he realizes that the woman had been dead. This leaves him impotent. This story is about what human beings are capable of doing, not even animals would do. But the beauty of this story is also that this man does not really repent killing 7-8 people of the family, but the cold feel of her flesh does something to him. It was not acceptable to people, and these stories were fine, but when Manto wrote Syah Hashiye, Syah Hashiye is like somebody has taken you inside a morgue, and you have to see the naked reality. The progressives said, one of them, I'll quote him, he said that what we think Manto is doing is that he is collecting cigarette butts from the corpses, because he is picking these observations and instances which should have been left there. Now, Manto's literature poses a very valid question before us. Should we let the past as it is? Should we let it die? And does it really die? Going by our communal history and the point where we have reached now, has it actually died from public memory? No, it doesn't. You need to address it. And he does it in a very honest spirit. He takes us there, shows us that, look, if you don't understand it now, this is what you will become. He is not talking about what you will do to others, what you will do to yourself. There is a beautiful story which is not really talked about much. I want to refer to that story. It's called Sharifan. Sharifan. There is this Muslim guy, when he goes home, he finds his daughter's naked corpse lying there. And in all his stories, I have observed something very interesting, that a man doesn't grieve so much his wife's death as he grieves his daughter's death, because daughter is a symbol of purity for Indian male, you know. So in a rage, he goes out and he kills 5-6 member Hindu people, and then he enters the Hindu household, and there is a frightened girl standing there. I think in this entire story, that's the line that says all about what happens during such situations. So he asks, who are you? She says, मैं Hindu हूँ. How your identity could be narrowed down? In normal circumstances, a girl would tell her name.
Yeah.
I am Vimla, Kamla, or Mehrun Nisa, or whosoever. The girl says, मैं Hindu हूँ. And he does whatever he does, but then there is beautiful line that he feels that there is a hand on his shoulder, and he's feeling happy that finally somebody is going to kill him. But there is no one. So yes, you do whatever you do, but there is also humanity inside you. And the beauty of Manto is that he puts these two together, and he puts it so beautifully that sometimes you miss the other part.
I think it is very important, as you said, that we need to understand the past. If communal harmony has to be strengthened, what happened cannot be just forgotten, but has to be understood, and we have to learn from that. And that's perhaps why Manto is becoming more and more relevant, because nobody has spoken in this graphic details about what happened. We of course have a few films which do portray communal riots. So in that sense, what do you think, the film Manto, which is going to come, some revival of Manto is necessary for building up a better relationship between communities?
Certainly, I think people like him should be talked about, and film is the medium of the times. I mean, of course, there is great interest in his books. On the birth centenary year of Manto, a lot of publications came out, a lot of translations are taking place. But if we compare it to how the Jews keep us reminding year after year what happened to them, you know, there is always a beautiful film every second year, and look at, I mean, Anne Frank's diary. I mean, this is translated into 71 languages. I wish the same happens to Manto's literature.
I really wish so, because I think let's end with a very interesting anecdote which happens in Calcutta, where Gandhi goes there to stop the communal rioting
Rights, yeah.
when India is celebrating the Independence Day. And there is this Suravardi. He's staying in this house, Haidari Manzil, and there are Hindus who have gathered there to say, go back Gandhi, go back everybody. And Suravardi has been responsible for killing, at least not killing himself, but initiating a lot of rioting. So the Hindu youth, they ask him, do you take the responsibility for these killings? And Gandhi is standing there putting his hand on Suravardi, and Suravardi says, yes, I am responsible for what happened and I am ashamed of it. And according to Gandhi, that one confession actually changed the whole narrative of what happened in Calcutta. And when thousands of soldiers in Punjab could not contain the rioting, Gandhi alone was able to contain it in Calcutta. So let us hope Manto does contribute to this understanding of what happened in our history during partition, and we see better days, better communal harmony.
Let's hope so.
So I think it is very important to read Manto, understand him, because he is a kind of a bridge between what happened in the past, and unless you understand that, you cannot move on in future. Manto is to say that you can kill a Hindu, you can kill a Muslim, but you cannot kill Hinduism, you cannot kill Islam. I would say, I think best thing to learn from him, you can kill people, but you cannot kill humanity, and I still have faith in humanity that this harmony will be established one day.